You are listening to the Free the Moms podcast, and this is a very special episode where we are talking all things peptides. GLP-1s, yes, but also other kinds of peptides, NAD+, glutathione, so many others. But the focus for this webinar, this podcast, was GLP-1s and why so many of my clients are taking it, why they're microdosing it, why they're normal dosing it, why I'm on a microdose. And this will explore if these peptides could be right for you and your health journey. So tune in. Let me know what you think. I have to be really honest with you guys. I was a little nervous bringing this to you because there's still stigma around these GLP-1s, but I need to help destigmatize them. So we're talking about it. Let me know what you think. I love you. Welcome to the conversation on peptides and Yummy Mummy. Some of you guys are brand new to me, so I want to give you guys just a very quick intro of who I am and what I do. A lot of you guys are not new to me, and a lot of you guys are my clients. So whether you're brand new to me or you're like, you've been my client for 5 or 6 years, you're in the right place, and welcome. My name is Laura Conley, and I am a life and weight loss coach for mamas, and I have helped hundreds of moms lose weight for the last time using mindset tools, emotional intelligence, loving accountability, self-love, and fun. And now we are adding peptides into the conversation. This is just another tool. I really strongly believe that in order for us to have the dream come true health that we want, the bodies that we want, the lives that we want, we need a lot of tools. This is my belief. This has always been my belief. And now we're opening the conversation around another tool that has helped so many of my clients, and I just can't not talk about it anymore. And we have talked about it, right? Like I've had podcasts on it. We've done Instagram posts on it, but I have been, Kristen's gonna laugh, but I have been manifesting. I have been asking the universe now for 2-3 years, how do I integrate this tool and offer it to those of my clients that might actually need it, or it would make life a little bit easier. So I'm going to share my screen. First and foremost, and I shared a little bit, I want to explain to you guys my story when it comes to peptides. I want to bring my client Karen on to explain her story as it relates to peptides. Eventually, I will introduce you guys. I don't know exactly at what time, but let's say 20-30 minutes in, I will introduce you to my friend Kristen, who also has a story with peptides, but will also help me to explain some of the science. The funny thing is this is like bringing me back into my drug rep days where I used to have flashcards and have my PhD scientist husband quiz me on everything. And like, so we're like dying because I'm already having him quiz me on the science and how it all works. But I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I have a little bit of PTSD from my drug rep days. Anyways, so that's the first things first is we're going to share stories, and then we're going to talk about why I chose to partner with LEMD as opposed to so many other routes I had explored. Then we're going to talk about what peptides actually are, and we are going to talk about GLP-1s because I have been getting a lot of questions like, what are peptides? Like, are we going to talk about Ozempic? We're not going to actually talk about Ozempic, but GLP-1s, yes. How do they work? And then we're going to open it up for questions and next steps. And you will be able to decide, whether or not, and you might not decide today, and that's okay, whether or not this is appropriate for your health journey. We're not going to be telling you what to do or anything like that. This is just for education purposes. I want to also make sure, before I go to the slide, you guys can tell I never use slides. I want to make sure that this is, I really don't need to say this to my clients, but I'm going to say it for anyone that's brand new to me. This genuinely is an open conversation. There is literally no shame, no judgment allowed. And if you feel a little judgment or a little triggery, zing happening in your body, it's okay. That's okay. But look at it. Use it as an invitation instead of something to get like resistancy around. Because I think that is, and again, those of you that know me know that above all else, my job is to help you figure out what's best and right for you. I never tell my clients what to do, ever. I just ask questions. That's literally my job. And the same will be true for today. But I do want to call that out because I do believe we're de-stigmatizing a lot of the GLP-1 BS, but it is really analogous to like the 90s or early 2000s. And I saw this with my mom actually a lot. The stigma around antidepressants, right? Like my mom she was doing all of the things. And a lot of you guys know this, right? She was doing hypnosis. She was doing therapy. She was doing everything you could think of for her anxiety and depression. And her antidepressant got her to 100%. It got her across that line. It was the tool that made all of the tools really, really work. And it's too bad that she had to deal with stigma and shame on that journey. So I just want to call that out. No shame, no judgment. Let's just be cool and have a little bit of fun. Okay. So I want you guys to pop in the chat. Put a 1 if you're like, I have no idea. I don't know anything about peptides. This is all brand new to me. I don't know anything about GLP-1s. I don't even know what you're talking about. Put a 2 if you're like, I know a little bit about peptides and I just want to learn more. And put a 3 if you're like, I've done my research. I just want to, stop this. Okay. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I love it, Nicole. I love it. You're here. Okay. Oh, we have like a total mixed bag. This is super fun. Okay. What is 4, you guys?
I started that trend. I said 4, using it and loving it.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Thanks, Kristen. I love that. Yes. Amazing. Okay. Yes. 4. I love that. Do you guys feel like some of you just came out of the closet? Sometimes on like the Yummy Mommy coaching calls, someone will raise their hand and be like, so I've been on a GLP-1. I'm like, you're not in trouble. In fact, we're going to celebrate you. Okay. So we have we have a mixed bag here, which is really fun. Like I said before, the goal is to make this conversation as comprehensive so that you can figure out what's right for you, so that you can make an informed decision. And I do want to call out that the conversation is not going to end at the top of the hour. In fact, I can stay on, but it can continue. And some of you guys are like, you're going to be like, yes, this is right for me. I want peptides today. And some of you guys are going to be in this conversation with yourself and maybe me or whatever for like the next 3 months, 6 months, year. And that's okay. So I just want to call that out. I did talk a little bit about my story, but I want to share a little bit more. So a lot of you guys know we have a Yummy Mummy MD. We have Olivia, who is on my team as somebody who can answer questions when it gets above my pay grade, right? And we have been, for the last 2 years, I can't tell you how many hikes we've been on to try to figure out how to bring this to you guys, and we haven't been able to figure it out. I worked with my functional MD to bring it to you guys. No way to do it, except for if you lived in Colorado. So I've been looking for this and looking for this and looking for this. And it wasn't until I started having conversations with Kristen that I realized that LEMD is so amazing. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But before I do, I want to stop sharing just for a second. So my personal story is that, I get really curious, and you guys know this about me, right? Like I am the guinea pig. I am like putting the testosterone pellets in my butt cheek when it's recommended by a doctor. Like I am trying all of the things. So when my functional medicine doctor recommended microdosing and GLP-1, actually for my thyroid, I was hesitant. I did tons and tons of research for me personally, and I ended up taking her up on it and then quickly switching over to LEMD, honestly, because of the cost. That was number one. But what the other part of my story is that I have about 20 to 30% of Yummy Mummies, my clients, on these GLP-1s For example, one of my best friends is a yummy mummy. This was the tool that got her across the line. Now she'll tell you, she's coming on one of these webinars in the near future. She will tell you that if she uses just her GLP-1 and not her yummy mummy tools, it doesn't work. She starts gaining weight, right? And so I am still a full believer, but the day that she sat me down and told me, after coaching and de-shaming around it, the day that she sat me down crying, I've been best friends with her for, I'm like, how old am I? I don't know, 20 something years, crying that this is the thing that finally worked. After all of these years, I mean, I was in tears with her. Like, it was a full body exhale because she's like one of those soulmate besties. And so I can't not talk about it. There are other client stories that I will bring to you, but I want to have Karen come on and talk because I think her story is really unique. And I think most of you guys will relate to it. So Karen, give us the scoop.
Okay.
Tell us like how long you've been a yummy mummy. Tell us just give us the scoop, and I'll ask you questions too in case I need to know more things.
Okay, so I started Yummy Mummy July of 2021. I definitely, lived a life of, I had outright eating disorder when I was in my 20s. I would say I had disordered eating my whole life, and kind of tried everything that probably everybody has tried. And I really feel like for me, it was, like Laura, you said multiple times, the hook is the weight loss, but then you say for the coaching. And for me, the coaching is just like such an important part of my life. So I joined July 2021. I lost 20 pounds in about a year. My goal weight was 140. I hung out at the 140 to 145 range for the past 5 years now. It's been relatively easy to maintain. At times I've gone up, I've needed the coaching, but overall, I feel good in my body. In April of 2024, so about almost 2 years ago now, I woke up one morning and had this insane pain in my hand. I literally thought, I must have sprained my hand or something. And then in the course of a week, it became both of these two hands and then my big toe. And sometimes it would spread to other toes. It was really weird. Went to my doctor. He had me go to a rheumatologist. Over the course of about 10 appointments and 6 months, I was on 4 rounds of prednisone. I was put on Humira. I got multiple, Oxycontin prescriptions. I'm trying to think what else, but it was really frustrating, and they really could not tell me what was wrong. They tested me for gout. Finally, what they determined is that I have something called viral arthritis, which is basically you can get arthritis from a cold, but in this case, they're saying it's probably long COVID or COVID. And prednisone made me crazy, and it was just this really wasn't sustainable. And the weight was very difficult in that time too. Eating was hard. And somehow I started listening to a podcast, and they were talking about inflammation and what happens in inflammation to your inflammation if you take a GLP-1. And so I started reading all sorts of stuff about this, and they were talking about how people, would get on the GLP-1 and then they would not have the arthritis pain or the back pain. And most people thought that had to do with the weight, but really I just, from what I saw, it had a lot more to do with just actual arthritis in your body. So I, reached out to some online, it wasn't Ellie, it was different online group. And I think that was about September of 2024. And I had to lie about my weight to get on the GLP-1 because there was no microdosing. I feel you hear about that a lot now. But I basically just got a regular dose and paid for it. But then my initial time I took it, I took about half of what the starting dose of tirzepatide was. And literally next day, all my pain was gone. It was just gone overnight. And I've gone through and tested it. And over the course of a year and a half, I've maintained taking it because about 8 to 9 days after a shot, that all the pain comes back. And so, for me, I just feel it's really important to know your own body, to know how to keep yourself healthy, but also it is just this amazing, I really believe this is an amazing tool. And then my other piece is that my mom had neuropathy. And I mean, it really, really got bad. And I'm sorry, I'm like throwing a lot of information out there, but it was scary. She called me once and actually said she was, like so depressed and just felt so awful that she was feeling suicidal. And I just was like, Mom, I know this sounds crazy. And then I told her because I had so much shame. For some reason, I had so much shame too about taking this GLP-1, even though I knew, or it turns out I should say, but even though I knew why I was taking it, I knew what it was doing to my body. I knew I knew it. I didn't want to like tell people. And so finally I told her and I suggested she take it. She was very resistant. She was like talking about the long term, like, what this was going to happen, that going to happen. And I was like, Mom, you told me you were going to commit suicide. So I think at this point, you should just try it. And so I mean, she also was on like, they had given her oxy, they had given her all sorts of drugs. And she took it, and the next day, the neuropathy was completely gone. And now she's at that was July, I think. And so she's had about 8 months, and she really credits it, and she takes less than a starting dose. So I feel like the drug is I think they're just learning so much right now about what it can do. And on top of this, things like I've always had I have genetically high cholesterol. So I've been, put on cholesterol medications on and off, and they'll look at my weight and they'll look at what my eating. I eat very clean. It doesn't matter. And my cholesterol has never been good. And it's just totally in a normal range right now. I have really high ferritin my whole life for some reason as well. They've never been able to figure that out. And it just isn't in a normal range right now. So overall, I just think it's great and it's really useful. But then the eating part of it, sorry, am I talking too much, Laura?
This is great. No, I would, you know me, I would just interrupt you, but I'm like captivated. Keep going.
So as far as like, just my protocol, I really stuck with my protocol. I did find that, a few years ago, I stopped doing intermittent fasting because I was going through perimenopause and I felt like I needed breakfast. So when I don't feel like that constant food noise is the term people use, but basically that constant thinking about food, like, oh my God, I probably could have been the president of the United States had I had this stuff earlier, because I've been thinking about food all the time. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I so want to go there right now, but I'm not going to. You would be a great president.
I wake up and I don't want to have breakfast, but I never really wanted to. I do make myself eat, I like have a protein shake in the morning because I think that's the best thing for my body. I've always been a consistent, person that works out and lifts weights. And so I do think it's really important to have a food protocol that you're following. And if I hadn't had those tools, I'm not really sure what would have happened. I mean, I'm really grateful that I found the Yummy Mummy first, because it feels very easy right now because I have those tools. There's something else. It just pops into my head now. Oh, I know. The other thing that I did, if I belong to a gym that you can get an in-body scan you can do it as much as you want. So I do an in-body scan once a month just to kind of watch my watch my muscle and make sure that I'm not losing muscle. And so in the course of this year and a half, I haven't lost muscle. I've actually gained muscle. And then, but overall, I haven't wanted to lose weight because I'm approaching 49. And, one thing they say is like, we want to lose weight, and then you don't want to lose weight because you want to maintain. So
yeah, your lean muscle mass is like your longevity organ. Right, so it's like so important. Yeah.
Because this is a long game, right? But so I definitely haven't lost muscle. I didn't lose I haven't had any hair loss. I know some people have had that. But I've been okay with that. I had hair loss when like perimenopause started. But that was many years ago. So if anything, it's growing back, and I don't really have any of the side effects. I mean, I've now taken it. So I've taken semaglutide, just pure Zepbound. I've had it compounded, and I've only ever had just a stomach ache ongoing when I've taken it compounded with L-carnitine. I take the compounded glycine right now through LAMD, and I do really like that because I think it also is supposed to help with just inflammation of your joint. So that
was so well articulated. So tell me a little bit about, so you guys, we were just at a retreat in Palm Desert, and you were like gushing around the fire about some of the other peptides that you're on. Will you share a little bit about that?
Okay, so I'm taking NAD. So some of the young mummies might know this, but I got a concussion like 4 years ago. And so I started taking NAD at that point. I also started taking some Moreland up and down. I'm really bad about taking my shot at night. And that's supposed to be for muscle gain, so I don't really feel like I have a great response to that one. And then the BPC 157, I've taken that through a different telehealth service. And I did really like that, but it was difficult to get at the time. So I have a couple more in my fridge that I just got, the GHCKU, which I know I'm saying wrong. If you took anyone to correct me, but I did get that through Ellie, but I haven't tried that yet either. But I'm very excited. So I just think the way that they work with your body is so much better than like a medication.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen. If anybody has any questions for Karen, if Karen's okay with it, throw them in the chat or just unmute yourself. But I think that was really, really helpful, especially because you've been on them for, if I'm doing the math right, like a year and a half, whereas like if you guys are going to be following at least my journey, I've only been on them for a couple months. And, I feel like, yeah, I have a lot that I want to say, but I really like to get more than just a couple months under my belt. Okay.
Oh, I would just say one thing because Krista threw in this DEXA scan. A DEXA scan is really hard to read if you don't have someone reading it. In InBody is super easy, and the DEXA scans are really expensive. So I don't know if you can find a place that does InBodies are very easy and it's easier to get quick data.
Yeah, I like the InBodies a lot because they will print out. They'll give you the printout or you can get a profile and then you can make your comparisons. Okay. If you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. Let's go to Kristen. Kristen, will you share your story? Because I think the way we like to learn and be entertained too. And I love your story.
Because I'm here for your entertainment. Yeah. Hey, I'm Kristen Boss. Laura and I have known each other for like 6 years. I think we met in 2020, and we both are certified life and weight loss mindset coaches. So I have coached Laura. Laura has coached me. So we've been in the same circles for a while. So yeah, excited to share my story. I'm going to send a request, Laura, to you so that I can share my screen, and then we'll go from there. I'm going to share my health story. Make sure I got it. All right, there we go. Hey, that's me, y'all. Let me do present full screen. All right, y'all can see it?
Yes, perfect.
All right, perfect. So I was the poster child of doing all the things. I did functional medicine. I worked on my gut health, the amount of money I had spent on supplements, hiring the trainers. And I was somebody that had chronically high inflammation, where my CRP levels were almost concerning to doctors because they're like, this, you might have some kind of illness that has your inflammation that high. And so my body kind of took the back seat when I scaled and built a company really fast. And this is actually at the time Laura knew me when we met. And so the scale for me had maxed out at 180, and that's what I weighed at full term pregnancy. And that's when I was like, hell no. But I would say I've had a lifetime of yo-yo dieting, trying every diet out there. If you've tried it, if there's something out there, I've tried it, guarantee you, from Special K diet to South Beach diet, you name it. And so for me, and I speak on stages for a living, and it's very visible. And I just got really tired of seeing pictures of me on my audience's Instagram stories. And it'd be like the worst part of my day. I'd get on stage, then I'd get off stage, and then I'd go through all the tagged stories and I'd see pictures of myself and I'd be like, who the hell is that? And it wasn't until my 5-year-old was like, is there a baby in your belly? And I was like, all right, that's it. I can't keep putting my health on the back burner. So, and I had always been surrounded by, the just eat well and exercise. And I felt like I had been doing that. And I'll share a little bit more about what that looks like. But what I was seeing online was just a lot of the fear and shame mongering, like GLP is the only way, the traditional way, shaming language, just a bunch of that. But this is what when the scale topped at that, I paid for a trainer. I was like, all right, it's time to prioritize all the pillars of eating and incorporating even my mindset stuff. And so I was doing weight training. I was doing 10 to 15,000 steps a day, which by the way is 2.5 hours of walking a day. Plus, however long I was in the gym. That's like a part-time job, 3 hours a day. That's 15 hours a week just to like try to get my body on board and doing macros and nutrition. I counted every single lick, bite, and taste that went in my mouth. I was so exhausted from counting every little thing. I focused on my sleep, the supplements, you guys, I did it all. And my trainer was like, wow, your body really doesn't like letting go of fat. I'm like, tell me something I don't know. Thanks so much for being here. So I did lose weight. It was very slow, but again, it was 3 hours a day, 3 hours a day. And my inflammation was still really high. I still felt pretty fluffy. I think in this picture, I'd gotten down to like 155. I was hanging between 150 and 155. And it was like, I was at a complete stall, and I was watching everyone else doing these GLP-1s, and I was like, gosh, it looks like it's working for them. But there was a lot of stuff I heard out there, like, you're going to lose your hair, you're going to die of diarrhea, your intestines are going to get paralyzed, like all of the things. So I was really curious and also highly, highly skeptical, because the people I saw pushing it felt like a very influencer-y thing that was going around. I'm like, ugh, more influencers pushing things. And it's kind of funny because I guess I kind of am an influencer, but not. I'm a coach, but I do have a large following. So it felt like a fast fix fad. And I was like, I don't preach that. I preach slow and sustainable. And if my audience finds out I'm doing the shortcut thing, I'm going to be a fraud, all the stuff. So I had a turning point. I reached out to a friend who was just constantly, she was with LEMD. She was always sharing like the science. And I was like, well, I really appreciate that. It was super grounded. It wasn't hypey. And so I went to her, I asked her a ton of questions, and I was like, cool, okay, thanks, bye. And then I went and snuck off to a med spa, sat with the NP, asked more questions, and their answers matched. I was like, all right, cool. I personally moved forward with a semaglutide, and I'm going to explain when we get to the science, I'm going to explain the difference between tirzepatide and semaglutide, because you might be like, what are those? I'll explain. So I also started with a small dose, like slowly working my way up. And so, well, that is a completely different person than the person that was on the stage where the doctor said, are you pregnant? Clearly not. So for me, I lost very low and slow. It wasn't this like fast thing overnight because I was dosing really low as well. So I averaged like half a pound to a pound a week, which at the beginning feels not impressive, but also I wasn't having to do 15,000 steps to get the scale to move. I could actually scale back to 7,500. I still kept my weight training. I prioritized my protein, and it just felt like my body was finally like responding, and it didn't feel like I was having to do mental gymnastics every day around food. I wasn't exhausted around it. Every healthy choice felt like an easy choice, and I didn't have to like battle like the food noise. I stopped having cravings. I remember wishing I could feel neutral around foods, and I'm like, I can't even imagine that reality if I was to feel like meh around like chocolate cake. I literally can look at chocolate cake and be like, meh, okay. Meh. Like I just food, and part of what GLP-1s do is it changes how your reward centers, your dopamine works, like how it's lit up, or your reward centers around food. So, but the best part is that the inflammation finally left my body. It was just so amazing when I went for blood work, and I started my GLP-1 journey in December of 24. So same year as Karen, just 6 months later or so. And I had blood work done last summer, and I was like, hey, can we look at my CRP levels? And they're like, wow, these levels are amazing. I'm like, what? After 5 years of like trying so hard to resolve it and the inflammation being gone, I maintained my lean muscle. I also did the body scans, and my hair was healthy and strong, the long as it's been. When I started my whole journey, I was at like a 12, 14, and then I was hanging out like an 8, 10, and now I'm like a 4, 6, which to me like blows my mind. I've like I can't remember the last time I was that. And I love that I get to have a different experience in my life of like putting on clothes, and I'm like, wow, I look really cute, which like not having to do mental gymnastics around what I'm going to wear each day is amazing too. So now I had a new problem. All my friends were noticing what I was doing, and my goal was to just take the injection, tell no one, because I didn't want anybody to know. And so I referred my local friends to a med spa. I had 2 friends that didn't go to a med spa, went somewhere else, had a nightmare experience. Each month, like they weren't sure where they were getting their vial from. It was bouncing between different compounding pharmacies. And so I was like, okay, I've got a problem here. Everyone And my audience, I've been sharing about my weight loss journey for so long, and my audience, they've noticed, and I've been talking about this. It's like, they're going to start asking. And I felt really dishonest just saying clean eating and exercise. I felt like I was like, I'm only telling them 90% and I'm leaving out the 10% that was the complete game changer for me. So I was like, I got to do my research to figure out where I can send my audience, because where can I go that isn't stuck in Colorado? It's safe. It, follows all the guidelines. So I kind of did this. I think Laura may have shared this earlier as well, but I was like, has to have an amazing customer experience from the moment someone checks out, picks a peptide. They have to have great company values, and they have to have high quality products. They also, I wanted to be able to pay with my HSA and FSA. That was huge for me. And they had to be a customer first focus. It couldn't be a company that was just about getting brand reps like myself and being like, hey, I didn't want an influencer based company. I wanted a customer based company. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is how I want to help people. So I made the switch. I felt confident. I had a chance to actually sit down with the CEO, and I asked her questions for a good hour and a half, because I'm like, listen, I know people, and if I'm going to send people your way, I have to know that this is good. I have to know that this company is built well and what your safety standards are and all these things. And it was green flag after green flag. I was like, okay, I feel safe pointing people to this. So when I finally outed myself, I finally was like, all right, I'm going to out myself on social media. And this is how Laura found out what I was up to. But I was shocked that there were like secret injectors everywhere. Everyone was like outing themselves in my DMs, being like, oh my gosh, this changed my life. I had tried everything. So I was like, wait, there are way more secret injectors out there than I thought. Just everyone was hiding because they're afraid because of all the messaging that's out there. And there's like this stigma. And I really loved that Laura talked about her mom overcoming the stigma for antidepressants and anxiety meds, because I had to work through that stigma myself for the exact same thing, for anxiety. And my anxiety meds changed my life. I'm like, oh, I'm a normal functioning human now. So that's my story. I actually, because you guys are starting to ask some science-based questions, I'm going to explain like the science of peptides. We'll talk a little bit about the myths and misinformation. And I think this might answer some of the questions that you have. And I feel like between Karen's story, my story, we've already debunked quite a few of the myths, but I want to share with you the science part. And Laura, if you feel like I'm going too fast, feel free to like interrupt me, pause me, or any of those things. But basically, when I watched people injecting themselves online, I was like, oh my gosh, people are injecting themselves with snake venom. It's like some foreign substance they're sticking in their bodies. But what I didn't understand was that peptides, they're naturally occurring short chains of amino acids that are already in your body. They're just communication signals. And they help cells communicate and function. So when we talk about peptides, there's actually many types of peptides. So we briefly touched on samorelin, BPC 157. There's tesmorelin, ipamorelin. There's NAD+, glutathione. There's a B12. There's tirzepatide. So what we're talking about is like big umbrella of peptides that help our bodies operate, like it optimizes our bodies, because all my lab work showed normal, but normal isn't the same as optimal. And so this particular branch that we're talking about that I got into was GLP-1s. And it's funny that Karen said with Yummy Mummy, like weight loss is what brings you in and coaching is why you stay. I feel like GLP-1s is why weight loss is why people come in, but the longevity is what has them stay, because they understand like, oh, lean muscle is the longevity organ, or I need to optimize my, inflammation, hormones, all the other things that are so important to our overall health. And so what GLP-1s are is they're just metabolic signaling peptides, and it's a peptide your body already makes. And so I like the analogy, it acts like a text message between your gut, your brain, and your metabolism. So it helps signal fullness, appetite, and blood sugar balance. So a GLP-1 agonist, which you might know as semaglutide, tirzepatide, the pharmaceutical names would be like Wegovy, Zepbound, Ozempic, but those are all GLP-1 agonists. So the GLP-1s that are already in your body, they are rapidly broken down by enzymes within, I could be wrong, but it's like 3 to 5 minutes by an enzyme called DPP4. And so GLP-1 agonists, they're designed to mimic GLP-1s, but resist the rapid breakdown. So this allows the GLP-1 signal to stay active longer in the body, like 5 to 7 days, which is why we do weekly injections, because you keep the agonist going to essentially help continue to signal fullness, appetite, and blood sugar balance. So a lot of people like to think peptides, they see it as like it's the same as for pharmaceutical medication, and that's not necessarily true. Where peptides, they are already supporting natural signals that are happening in your body, whereas drugs are like commands that act like force commands into your body. They both have a place, just like I was talking about, like, hey, anxiety meds have a place, and peptides have a place. So, and context matters. We're never going to shame, like, if you have to, like, there's the blood pressure medication, and then there's a peptide that can help with your blood pressure or with your cholesterol. They're different things. So what they have shown is emerging research has shown much broader health benefits to GLP-1s beyond just weight loss. So studies are showing, if you're like, I love studies, I want to see the studies, they're named right here, Select, Leader, Sustain 6, but it's showing that it supports reducing cardiovascular risk and improves heart outcomes, neuroprotection, cognitive health. In some medical circles, they call dementia and Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. And so there's links to blood sugar and insulin and those diseases. Inflammation reduction, GLP-1 is associated with improvements in inflammatory markers and metabolic inflammation. Metabolic resilience, it supports insulin sensitivity, glucose regulation, and overall metabolic health. So I was not pre-diabetic, but I had insulin resistance. Again, I was just like this, well, you are, but you're not, and insurance can't help you. And I'm like, dude, I'm like 45 pounds overweight, like, somebody help. And I was feeling pretty helpless in my own body. And then lastly, it helps with kidney protection. So this is why some people, and Karen's a great example, some people, even though they don't need the weight loss anymore, they stay on a microdose for all the other added benefits. And that's me too. Like, I'm at my maintenance weight, I'm microdosing for the added benefits. And I have a really well-intentioned mom. She's here right now, but like for a year, she's like, I just hope you're going to get off it soon. We just still don't know enough about these drugs. And I'm really worried about you, Kristen. Are you sure you know what you're doing? I was like, oh my God, I'm 40 something years old, Mom. Like, I'm pretty sure I can make decisions for my body, but thanks for your concern. All right. Myths and misinformation, they cause muscle loss. I feel like we've covered that quite a bit. The GLP-1 agonist itself is not what causes the muscle loss. You don't inject and it's not like, I'm going to go eat your muscle, nom, nom, nom. What it actually does is anytime you're in a caloric deficit and you are not properly eating enough protein and challenging your muscle, your body's like, cool, we're not using the muscle, let's eat it. So this muscle loss happens when you are in a severe caloric deficit and you aren't moving, you're not getting in your protein. So even if someone was to do a gastric bypass or undereat, their muscle's going to go away. And when I worked with a trainer for a couple of years when I was in a caloric deficit, he's like, Kristen, we have to make sure you're getting your protein and at least doing some resistance training, because he's like, you're not going to necessarily build or put on muscle. The goal is muscle preservation. And just by doing resistance training, we're just incentivizing your muscle to stick around. So GLP-1s do not cause muscle loss. It is using it as a crutch instead of a tool, which is why it's so great to, the other Yummy Mummy pillars that you guys learn about with Laura. It's a holistic tool, right? So they cause severe side effects. I've heard so many. Again, this often is a dosing problem or lack of medical oversight. So some people, there are ways to go about and get peptides without going through a doctor. And I'm like, I would never do that. But it is often, side effects are easily managed by dosing protocols, proper medical oversight, making sure you're eating enough protein, drinking your water, just rounding it out. But a lot of times when you hear about the severe side effects, when you go through like Zepbound or Wegovy, it's the injection pens and they don't customize the dose in those pens. It's just a boom, inject, and you could be taking a full dose and your body never needed it. For example, even after a full year, I still never worked myself up to a full dose. My husband's on tirzepatide and he won't even need a full dose either because he's responding so well. So you'll gain it all back. The only people that gain it all back are people that inject, sit on their butt, and continue to eat like garbage. And then they just rely on the hunger signals being turned off. And so they're like, I'm just not eating because I'm not hungry. And then if they go off of it without weaning off, they resort back to their old habits. So it's just like with anything, like if you're going to default to old habits, then of course you're going your prior results. But the people who do like use it as a tool, lose the weight, they can easily wean off and keep their results. But a lot of people choose to stay on a microdose for the long-term benefits. And then next is a synthetic versus natural. So the market is really capitalizing on the talk in the market demand for, or market awareness around peptides. People are Googling it. People are curious. They know GLP-1s are hot. So do you guys remember when like paleo was like the thing and you went to the grocery store and there was like paleo stickers everywhere you went, like paleo friendly this, paleo friendly this. It's marketing because they know people want it. So what other marketing companies have done is, and you're going to see this now that I've mentioned it to you, but you're going to see all these companies either creating GLP-1 support, like shakes, support bars, support like we're building stuff to complement your GLP-1 journey, or you're going to see people go the other side and be like, hey, GLP-1s, they capitalize on the fear mongering and the shame and misinformation. And they're like, cool, we'll snag up the market that wants the GLP-1 results, but believes all the negative stuff about it. And we'll just sell them a natural solution. So we're going to sell them berberine. Just eat this, have this berberine supplement, and it's going to naturally increase your GLP-1s. Okay. It might, but it doesn't stop the breakdown, the rapid enzymatic breakdown process. So it's like, cool, it might boost it for 10 minutes, but it can't boost it for 5 to 7 days. So I tell people when they're looking at natural solutions, you cannot compare it to the results with an agonist. Like that's like comparing apples and oranges, and people don't get the same results. I know because I tried. So, and also
well, it's like when people say too, like, oh, that's full of chemicals. Right. It's like my husband's like, did you know that like water is a chemical? Like H2O is a chemical.
Right.
And it's the same thing with synthetic versus natural.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, oh, okay, well, we tend to think synthetic automatically means harmful and natural automatically means safe. But, you know, supplements aren't regulated by the FDA anyways. And like, who's regulating that? And so there's a lot there, but this one's a big one. There are people who are going to say, hey, this is a new drug. We still don't know like what the effects are long-term of this. I was shocked when I learned that GLP-1 biology, it was discovered in the 80s and human trials started in the 90s. This has actually been around a long time. There's been major clinical trial programs. Again, you can look them up that demonstrate many patients include, again, clinically meaningful weight loss, improved glycemic control, improvements in cardiometabolic risk markers. My friend that works in ORs as a CRNA, she said hospitals are actually starting to talk about expecting a decrease in revenue with surgeries associated with cardiometabolic problems. And so, or cardiovascular problems due to people having access to GLP-1s and how effective they are. So semaglutide or Ozempic or Wegovy represents a later, more refined GLP-1 receptor agonist that was developed from earlier GLP-1 research. So I like to think of we had iPhone 1 in, you know, the 90s. And now, like, when it comes to GLP-1 agonists, like the semaglutide is like the iPhone 15. Like it just keeps getting better. And then the iPhone 16 is the tirzepatide. That would be like your Mounjaro, your Zepbound, because it's a dual agonist. It actually targets the GLP-1 and the GIP. And so it just keeps getting better. If anything, long-term is just improving the results and the efficacy of these peptides. And there's even retatrutide is going to be coming out. It's still a research grade peptide, but that is one, it's going to be like, it has 3 different agonists. And so again, this is 40 years of science evolution and evidence-based care. So this isn't new. Even though people want to say it's new, it's not. So again, whether you go with LEMD or not, these are the things you want to be aware of. And this is why people have problems or not good experiences. You want to make sure you have medical oversight by a board certified physician, a DO or an MD, and you're not paying extra visit fees, membership fees just to contact your provider. You also want to make sure the peptides are coming from a 503A compounding pharmacy, which just means they're adhering to the highest industry standards. You want to make sure that they're doing industry best practices, the sterility and safety protocols, third-party testing with verified purity and ingredient quality. All for Ellie with their pharmacy, everything is sourced here in the US. You're not getting peptides from China or Mexico. I tell people, I'm like, bargain shop your purses, not your peptides. Like this is not where you go and like look for an Amazon dupe of peptides. Please don't do that, because one of the things that is important with pharmacies is that they do potency and consistency testing, which means every vial that they put out is the same potency and consistency as the prior vial. And I know that that's so important because I had some friends go elsewhere and they could, because it was bouncing between different pharmacies or it wasn't batch tested, they actually felt a difference from vial to vial and they didn't have consistent results because the pharmacy wasn't batch testing. So these are the things that are super important with your decision. So that's enough from me about like the science part. Hopefully like your eyes didn't glaze over. I hope it was like empowering for you. If you have more questions, just like drop them in the chat. But yeah. Oh, it's so
Yeah,
good.
you guys can also just unmute yourself if you have questions for Kristen or pop them in the chat. It's totally fine. So thank you, Kristen, by the way.
Yeah.
So good. So fascinating. And really, really cool that we have access to this. I really feel like we're on the precipice of something that is going to change our world. Like the iPhone changed our world. This is going to do the same in terms of our vitality and longevity and overall health. It's just so cool. So if you guys are interested in trying a peptide, whether that's a GLP-1 or an NAD, you can go to lemd.com/Laura Conley and you can poke around there. Of course, you can ask us questions, but this is the cool thing. They are so responsive. Their customer service is amazing. You, of course, have to go through a doctor, an MD or an O. So you can poke around there. What I love about it, too, is that every peptide you'll see, it has links to, so if you want to like geek out about it, has links to PubMed articles. So we're not just saying that this does this. It's backed up by science and proof. So, and Kristen mentioned this a little bit. If you are interested in a GLP-1, there are two types. There's a GLP-1, which would be like the semaglutide. It's a single agonist, just like she was talking about, or the GLP-1/GIP. That is the tirzepatide version. Mm-hmm. And so it's, honestly read through and figure out what you find is right for you. But like Kristen said, the GLP-1/GIP is like your iPhone 15 or the upgraded version.
Mm-hmm. Well, and something to add to that too is like distinguishing between if you should do a microdose or a weight loss dose. Yeah. If you have 15 pounds or less to lose and you are more about the longevity effects of the GLP-1, I recommend the microdose. And so you'll see a microdose tab, and the compound that you add to the tirzepatide microdose is B12. And if the B12 is formulated and fully methylated for those with the MTHFR genetic mutation. So if that's you, it's important to know that. But if you have more than 15 pounds to lose, you're going to want to go to the weight loss dose. And you'll see like GLP-1. Actually, Laura, can I share my screen real quick so I can show them what it looks like on their, here we go. I just want to show them what it looks like to pick the peptide. Here we go. All right. So you're going to see here, if you go to products, you're going to see like weight loss and obviously microdose. And so weight loss, you'll see GLP-1, that means the semaglutide, plus the B12 injection. And then this is the tirzepatide B12. And then you'll see L-carnitine, glycine. So these are the different additives that you can make. If you're needle averse and you're thinking about the oral drops, the oral drops are not as effective as the injection. So I tell people, I'm like, but if you're just about the longevity benefits, oral drops could probably still serve you. But what you want to do is when you go to this website, you'll see that this doesn't, I am signed in. But when you want to be able to, there should be a button here that says sign in or make an account. You're going to want to click that so that you can have access to all of the peptides, so you can click on them and look at them. So this is like the GHKCU. And again, it shows potential benefits all listed here, what the order fulfillment's like, testimonials, and look, here's all the scientific sources that Laura was talking about. So you want to make sure just to create a customer profile that allows you to have access to all the peptides, look around, shop around. Oh no, Ellie is not available in Canada. Sorry. We don't ship to Canada yet. Boo. something to consider as well, guys, is this is a telehealth concierge company. So when you pick your peptide, you fill out your patient intake form, a doctor reviews it, you're approved usually within the hour. Peptides have been shipping fast, like 2 days. It's been wildly fast. But the pricing, although it says monthly, it might say like $229 a month, and then you go to cart checkout, it gives you the 3-month cost because they ship you a 3-month supply to ensure that you're not short on shipments or waiting for anything. It saves on shipping and handling. And also you have a client patient portal to ask your provider questions at any time about your dosage, any side effects you might be having, about and they're really responsive. It's just been so great. So it's like the concierge delivered to your door with safety and quality. So yeah. Can we speak to vision loss related to the GLP-1? I can't. There's always going to be outliers. There's always going to be those extreme stories you hear with every single pharmaceutical grade peptide or something out there. I can't help but wonder. I'm not a doctor, so that's my disclaimer. Wonder what other factors were at play there. There's too many factors to know, but that is not something I have heard of with Ellie at all. So Laura, I'll let you speak to anything else.
Just so you guys can see what Kristen just explained. I know we're going back and forth sharing our screens, but she did just go through this. So if you guys do want to go on, she explained all of this, but what I think is important to also highlight is that, like we said at the beginning, you can use your FSA or your HSA or Klarna or PayPal later or LEMD financing. Also, mine took like 2 days. I really could not believe it. So it's very fast. Yes, and if you guys do have more questions, we can share more FAQs. It just kind of depends where you are in terms of like that 1 to 4 scale. And then again, I put this in the chat, but it's here too. It's just lemd.com/Laura Conley. We will email you guys that link.
Question.
And the other thing I wanted to let you guys know is that we will be doing for people that become LEMD patients, we will be doing a 30-day challenge so that you're not just using, you can just do whatever's right for you. But if you want the holistic approach, we're going to do a 30-day challenge come April 1st to the 30th, so that you can use the Yummy Mummy tools to support the injection so that you're really getting the holistic. Now, if you're a Yummy Mummy, you already know those tools, but sometimes it's nice to, have a little 30-day challenge or refresh. So if you are an LEMD patient through me, then you will get that for free. We'll be offering it to my quote unquote regular audience at a ticketed price. So just keep that in mind as well. I want to open it up for questions. I will also send a link for consult. If you guys want to hop on a 15-minute consult, that will all be in your email. So you'll get the replay, you'll get the link, you'll get the link for LEMD, and you'll get the link to book a call if you want to.
Yeah. So someone asked if there's a nasal spray for GLP-1. There is not a nasal spray for GLP-1. There's one for a couple other of our peptides, but someone just asked, how long does it take to get over nausea? I had mild nausea on my injection days, and your prescription does come with Zofran. They send you a complimentary Zofran, but for me, I inject at night, I sleep through and I don't have any issues, but anytime I upped my dose or had an injection, I had a little, very mild nausea that was easily addressed with water, electrolytes, and a little Zofran, and it was totally fine. It wasn't I'm not one to want to suffer, with nausea, so it was very tolerable. Yeah.
I haven't had any of that. And again, I'm just doing a microdose, so I haven't experienced that.
And you're doing the tirzepatide, which people have less nausea with tirzepatide than they do with semaglutide. And I did the semaglutide, the single agonist. Yeah.
What other questions do you guys have?
What are the costs?
So it's all different depending on what you choose. So I would click that link and get yourself a free profile, and then you can go through and do cost comparisons.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
But I believe the semaglutide GLP-1 at a weight loss dose starts at $299. And I've heard our tirzepatide costs are coming down. What they was $379 a month for a weight loss dose, $279 a month for the microdose. But I have heard that those prices are dropping today. So you're going to want to keep an eye out. Laura and I are actually missing some company news right now doing this. And we're like, we're going to find out. I also know that they're going to be offering consults soon too through the website, kind of like a telehealth consult. So that, and Laura will communicate that with you guys as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks, guys. I mean,
Thank you. It was very, very informative.
thanks for being here, Cynthia.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you guys, well, look for an email. Since we're right at the top of the hour, I'm going to end it unless there's any burning questions. But I really appreciate you guys all being here. I really appreciate Kristen, you, and Karen, you, for sharing your stories and your expertise. I love you guys so much. And I hope you guys have the best rest of your day. I'll email you in the next, 15 or 20 minutes.
Hey, Laura.
Yeah.
Laura, I have a question that maybe, is Kristen still on? Or did she get
No,
off?
but ask it, and then I can see if I can answer it. And if not, I'll ask her.
Oh, shoot. Okay. So I think I told you a couple weeks ago or whenever on a call that I was doing GLP-1. I'm driving, so that's why I'm like not on. And I got it through LEMD and I loved it and it worked and it was so awesome. And then I was at my doctor and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I told her, and she's like, "Oh, I can get that for you cheaper at a compound pharmacy in town."
Okay.
So, I think it was a month ago, I switched to the compound pharmacy in town, but it's not working. So I'm like, what's the difference between what I was getting at LEMD? And I'm happy, I'll just switch back and go under you. But I'm like, what's the difference?
Well, yeah, it's really hard to compare apples to apples because you don't know what they're compounding it with, and you don't know how much of the actual, you said tirzepatide, right? Or is it semaglutide? Do you know?
I think it's semaglutide. Wait.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay, but that's what can happen is that they may be giving you such a small amount, and it doesn't seem like that because of what they're compounding with it. So it's so hard to compare apples to apples. So if it was, it's one thing if it was working, whatever she.
Yeah, but it's not. And so I'm really frustrated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to re-up my subscription at Ellie, can I just...
You can just go to that link and you can re-up it.
Okay. It won't connect me to whoever I didn't even know the girl who I was with before.
I think Karen actually did that. She was maybe under somebody else, and then I think it was a similar story.
I just wrote them and said I wanted to switch to be under Laura.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's annoying. But that I have heard of stories like that before where it's like, this is not working at all. I can tell. Yeah. Oh, you're frozen, Betsy.
Yes.
And
Oh, it's
Betsy,
okay.
I did a local one too that was a compound, and that was when I had it compounded and felt nauseous. That was the only time I've had nausea. Is when I used the local compound, and I don't know why.
Okay. So strange, but good to know. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Laura.
All right. You're welcome. Thanks, you guys. Anybody else? You guys know where to find me.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. Have the best day ever. And I will email you guys. Love you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, babes, I'm dying to hear what you think. And if you want to check out LEMD, if you want to check out peptides to see if they're right for you, you can go to lemd.com/Laura Conley. That's ELLIEMD.com/Laura Conley. And you can also, I'll put this in the show notes, you can book a call if you have questions. I've been getting tons of questions, which is so fun. And there's no shame. So even if you're maybe a little triggered or maybe really excited, or maybe you're noticing your own kind of judgment around it, If you have any questions, just reach out, slide into my DMs, or book a call, and we can chat about it. So I love you. Thank you for being at the beginning of this with me. I really do think we're on the precipice of something really cool for women. I mean, perimenopause, weight loss, feeling good in our bodies. I think this is like the iPhone, but in healthcare.